house on this day all over this campus. The word of the Lord is read to us today in its contextual environment. Already having been heard, we turn now just to the text of Genesis chapter 16, verse 13. When you're there, say, I'm there. That's not enough of you. When you're there, say, I'm there. It's on the screen. Read it aloud with your pastor. Then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees. For she said, have I also seen him who sees me? Go ahead and be seated, presence of the Lord. Beloved, talk about being surprised by God. If you remember Herschel last week, we looked at how Sarah, in this passage, Sarai, a woman, we saw that first of all, a woman, but then a woman who was barren and a woman who in a truly less than perfect situation was amazed to have an encounter with God and then to discover, Mike, that God remembered her. Beloved, if Sarah was surprised that Adrian, God knew and remembered her, then Hagar is surprised on steroids when she discovers that God remembers and sees her. We're told, Felicia, that one of the greatest and most basic needs in life, deacons, is the need and the desire to be seen. And yet, so often, you and I, many people, live in a world where they feel as if no one ever sees them. Now let me say this, Deacon Croft, let me say this, and it needs to be said because this need to be seen goes beyond, and I would add, goes far beyond wanting someone to see us / look at us. Though in some ways, I'm looking around, Gene, at this marvelously beautiful congregation. And let's be honest, even though you saved, sanctified, Tony, filled with the Holy Ghost, here's the bottom line. You didn't dress up that good for somebody not to look at you. I'm always Jimmy O surprised when folks say, I don't care what folk think of me. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You wouldn't be color coordinated. If you didn't care, you'd have on, I better watch what I say, First Lady, you would have on polka dot stripes, checks. But you do care. I'm looking around. Make sure none of the brothers are dressed like that. You do care what folk think about you. And no matter how humble you are, come on, y'all. We don't get up in the morning, wash up, take a shower, brush our teeth, gargle, comb our hair, get dressed, and not expect somebody to look at us. Sisters, don't leave me out here by myself. Come on, you don't get dressed to the nines, especially my single sisters. I know you want God to look at you, but you wouldn't mind if one of the eligible brothers up in here looked your way as well. And it isn't just the sisters. I ain't gonna leave y'all out here. The brothers who are single, You want some of the single sisters to look at you. But Pastor Joyce, this desire to be seen goes beyond just somebody looking at us. It really is more about not just someone gazing toward us or glancing at us or observing us. No, this need to be seen runs far deeper than that. And I'll say this, and I hope no one takes exception to it or is upset by it, but I've watched, as have you, some of our friends, some of our family members who live on social media. Y'all getting quiet on me. And I wonder sometimes, especially preachers, when do y'all work? Do y'all visit the sick? Do you ever counsel anybody? Do you ever work on a sermon? Because my God, you're on here 24 hours. Well, no, that's not fair. 18 hours. Every time you sneeze, every meal you eat. And I recognize, brother and sister Gwen, that in some ways, and I had to come to grips with this, that some of my friends who do it, some of my colleagues who do it, I used to get upset with them until I began to really think about it, and I realized that sometimes this incessant, unceasing need to be on social media is a need to be seen in the sense of, please realize I am here. We see that. Can I keep going? We see that, Sister Eunice, with people who are, you know how they are at the party. They loud and they're boisterous and they always trying to be the center of attraction. And Mike, what I discovered about folk like that is that as loud and boisterous and voluminous as they are and always seeming to want to suck up all the air in the room, that right behind that is a real sense of inferiority and uncertainty. Does anybody really see me? In fact, Brother Lance, sometimes the more they do it, it's more blessed by a loving, supportive family, by good friends. And I want to say this, John, and son, I need you to hear me, because as privileged and as blessed as we are, but as a congregation, we must never forget, and Dane, we must never assume that what is true for us is true for everyone. There are people in this world, no, I take that back. There are people in this city who live lives of loneliness, where they feel not only does no one see them, but that no one cares about them. And that is why, can I preach? That is why those of us to whom much is given, much is required. That is why those of us who make up the rank and file of this membership must never be so conceited and so insensitive that we walk by people and never say hello to them, or never say that's a nice dress or looking good, bro, because we never know if we are the only person in their world who sees them. Would you just look at a neighbor real quick and just say to them, this will bless them more than you know. Just say, I see you. Woo! I could sit down right there. You just preached the sermon, Richard. Did you say it to someone? Turn to another person and say, I see you. That will make their day. That will bless their lives, because they got dressed in a lonely house in an empty room. Shh. They leaving here in an empty car, going to eat dinner by themselves, and they going home to an empty house. They got all dressed up, look good, and nobody ever says, I see you. So Larry Jones, I cut my buddies some slack now. I mean, I get kind of sick of them, but I cut them some slack. Because I realize and recognize not all of my preaching colleagues are blessed the way I am, who have what I have, who are blessed to the degree that I am blessed. And really, what I think is an insatiable need for attention is really, Roz, just their way of saying, before I die, somebody see me. Am I making sense to anyone? That before I leave this world, if I'm never on the cover of Time magazine, if I'm never on a TV show interviewed, if I never make the list of the best, the greatest, if I'm not in who's who, before I close my eyes and sleep the slumber of death, I want to live in a world where somebody sees me. It isn't just, I'm going to stop. It isn't just a desire. Beloved, it's a need. And that's what happens in our text today. This little girl, Hagar, I done preached on Hagar so much, I thought the other day, I said, I done preached enough on Hagar. But every time I try to leave Hagar alone, Deacon Sylvia, Hagar said, you ain't through with me. You ain't quitting me. I got more to say to them folk. And in our text, this little girl by the name of Hagar makes this discovery that God sees her. Now, I told you last week about Sarah, right? Sarah's a woman. Sarah's a barren woman in a patriarchal society where the only worth a woman has is to produce children, hopefully a son. And now she finds herself in a precarious position. And yet God, the text said last week, Genesis 21:1, and God remembered Sarah and did for her what he promised. Well, if Sarah is a surprise, I told y'all that Hagar is a surprise on steroids. Here's why, because Hagar is a woman, a girl. She is unmarried. Y'all getting quiet on me. And she is living with a scandalous situation in her life. I done lost all of y'all up in here. But aren't you glad that even when your life is kind of sort of jacked up, God still looks your way? When I do that, I'm going fishing. Look at the neighbor, say, neighbor, on my worst day, what I'm shouting about is God looked my way. Have you ever had God do that for you? Have you ever had God show up for you? Have you ever had God take note of you? Have you ever had God, Sister Yvonne, look your way and you realize and recognize wonder of wonder? God sees me. Who? Nobody else may. And I want to say that, Leland, you may feel today as if no one, okay, therapeutic honesty. Even your pastor sees you. I come to church, I sit in the back. I don't ever go up there and shake his hand. Too many of the other big shots get up there and he's hugging on them and kissing on them, and he doesn't even know my name. He doesn't even know I'm a member of his church. I don't think my pastor sees me. Come on, y'all, let's talk turkey. You sit here, you come, you're faithful week after week after week. You've never even shaken my hand, because now you don't get to come down front when you join the church, so you don't get to shake the pastor's hand. You don't really ever get to see me other than in this pulpit on the screen. How can you really believe my pastor sees me? I hear him say, I pray for you every day. How he praying for me? He don't even know who I am. But let me just tell you right now, I may not see you, but God sees you. Okay, I'm through. I may not know your name, but God knows your name. You may never get to speak to me, but can I get a witness in First Church online in the room that you can talk to God? I can call him when I need him. Our Father up in heaven, I can go to God in prayer. If you have a little talk with Jesus, tell him all about your trouble. What will he do, Zion? He'll hear your faintest cry, answer by and by. You feel a little prayer wheel turning, know a little fire's burning. What will you discover? A little talk with Jesus makes it all right. Hagar, a foreigner, an unwed mother. Boy, y'all getting quiet now. Finds out, surprise, God sees her. And I want to say this as I get ready to go, Sister Makata, I want to say this. And God sees you. God sees you. When those disciples were on that boat in the middle of the storm, I believe it's Mark says Aunt Eula and Jesus saw them toiling and rowing. That verse, I read it as a teenager, blessed my little heart. I never knew how it would bless my heart as it got bigger and older. God sees me in my toiling. In my toiling. When I'm toiling at rowing, when I'm trying to make headway, when I'm trying to navigate the dangerous rocky shoals of the ocean of life, when it seems as if the wind is blowing against me and the rain is torrentially falling upon me, when I'm toiling in my rowing, do I have anybody here who can shout with me, thank God he sees me in my toiling? Lee, when you are trying your best, giving your best, doing your best, and your best does not seem good enough, he sees you, Kim, toiling in rowing. Shamika, that gives me hope. And that's Hagar's story. God sees her. She's on the run from a mean mistress. And God stops her and says, where you going? And she ends up saying, could it be possible that the one who sees me, I have seen? She named that place. She named God, the God who sees. Very quickly, I have 15 minutes. I asked for 30, I'm going to try to do 25. Here it is. Here's the first one. God sees her, let me add parenthetically. God saw her and God sees us in our predicament. You ever been in a predicament? Look at the neighbor and say, I'm in one right now. Ever been? I'm in one right now. Knee deep in a predicament. You know what a predicament is, right? I looked it up. It's an unpleasantly difficult, perplexing, or dangerous situation. I'm going to read it again because I just read your biography. A predicament is an unpleasantly difficult, perplexing, or dangerous situation. Anybody ever been in a predicament? Hagar's in a predicament and God sees her. I want to give you 3 points about the predicament she was in and God saw her. First of all, it was a predicament she didn't choose. Would you go ahead? I know this is not therapy, and I know you haven't gotten a chance to get into First Lady yet for counseling, but pretend it's a couch right now, and you're reclining on the couch, and I am your therapist. Just say, I didn't choose this. You feel better already, don't you? Say, I didn't choose this. I didn't choose this. I didn't. Everything I'm going through, I ain't choose none of it. Y'all so deep. Y'all so deep. But I'm going to preach for you because you can. You didn't choose this. You didn't choose for your marriage to end in divorce. You didn't choose for that. You didn't choose to get laid off. You didn't choose your child to end up on drugs. You dealing with it, but you didn't choose it. God help me here. In fact, just confess, I didn't choose it, but I'm dealing with it. Oh, I'm not giving up. I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm sure not going to hurt myself. I did not choose this predicament, but I'm dealing with it. It's a predicament she didn't choose. Here's the next thing, B. It was a predicament she could not control. She's a young slave girl. She has no right of self-determination. She didn't choose this, and she can't control this. Anyone in the room? No, not y'all. People online. Because everybody in this room, they straight. Online people. You got anything in your life you can't control? You can't control the spread of that cancer. You've done everything the doctor told you to, and it still came back. You can't control that. You can't control what's happening in your body. You can't control it. You ever been in a predicament you didn't choose and you can't control it? Here, see, I'm going to move on. It's a predicament she didn't choose. It's a predicament she cannot control. And this may be what hurts the worst. It's a predicament she can't change. Sometimes you're into something you didn't choose, you can't control it, but you work on it, you can change it. Life brings us some stuff, buddy. You can't change it. You can't change it. She couldn't change what she was in and what was done to her. She didn't choose it. She had no control over it, and she could not change it. But here's the shout, God still saw her. Let me move on. I have 11 minutes. Here's the next one. Everybody say a predicament. But God also saw her in her pain, and God sees us, Lawrence, in our pain. There are 3 levels of pain Hagar had, and I'm pretty sure you got them too. Here they are. It's A, the pain of betrayal by those she thought she could trust. Okay, Tom, I'm going to drop the mic, go sit down. Because that's it, that's all, that's the sermon. Anybody ever been betrayed by somebody you thought you could trust? Sylvia, they ain't helping me. No, come on, y'all. Take off your mask. I know who was it? County Cullen said, we wear the mask. Take off the mask. You ever, right now, sitting here, aren't you still reeling from realizing and learning in the last couple of weeks that somebody you thought you could trust? Somebody said the other day, it ain't the stab in the back that hurts you, it's when you turn around and see who's holding the knife. Can I preach in my own pulpit? I'm looking for help, but y'all ain't giving me nothing. Listen, it's not the stab that takes me out. It's when I finally get myself together and turn around and see the joker that's holding the knife that stabbed me in the first place. Tap a neighbor, say, I never thought it would be them. I thought I could trust them. I never thought Sarah would do this to me. I served her. I never thought Abraham would do this. Y'all see, I got kids in here. I can't tell it like I want to tell it. I didn't ask you to come to my bed. Your wife sent you in there. Didn't ask my permission. I never thought she would do this. I never thought you would do this. Who do you have in your life that you're still saying, I never thought they'd do that to me? I never thought my uncle would molest me. I never thought my mother would believe her nutty boyfriend over me. I never thought it. I never thought my boss would try to hit on me. I never thought it. I never thought it. Never thought my high school gym teacher would try to make advance. I never thought it. Okay, y'all getting quiet. Y'all getting quiet. I never thought the folk in the church would do it. Y'all getting quiet up in here. Preach, Clark, doing the best I can with a hostile crowd. It's the pain of betrayal by someone she thought she could trust. Tanya, I'm going to say if I got to run out through, you really can't be hurt by folk you don't like, know, or need. The only folk can really hurt you are the folk you love. And you never thought they'd do that. Just say, I never thought it. It's the pain of betrayal. I got to go. It's the pain of a birth she did not plan. Oh, Lord. Come on, come on. Can we talk? I've asked y'all to watch your verbiage about people. Calling young girls who get pregnant out of wedlock sluts and hussies and whores. Because see, when you start doing that, you're talking about my mama and I'm going to hurt you. First lady, pray right now. You see, when you start calling girls who get pregnant out of wedlock, you talking about my mama, and I'm about to clean your clock in Jesus' name, because my mama had me out of wedlock. It was a birth she did not plan for. And a lot of these young ladies we dogging and downing and dissing are pregnant and having babies. Let's admit it, they didn't know what they was doing and they didn't plan for it. She didn't plan for this. She wasn't writing in her diary, child, I want to get pregnant by old stinky funky Abe. Pretty near 100 years old. Creaking when he walked. I don't want to get pregnant by Abe. She ain't write that no. Don't laugh, Tony. Anybody dealing with something day to day you didn't plan? It was a pregnancy she didn't plan for. I got to go. Here, I have 7 minutes. Here it is. Everybody say the pain of betrayal, the pain of a birth. Here's God met her. God sees her in a pain. The pain of betrayal from folks she thought she could trust. The pain of a birth she didn't plan. Here's the one that I thought about my mother. Our mother. Pam's here too. Laura. We'd only 3 left. I thought about the pain of our mother. It's the pain of the burden of sole responsibility. Mother dear, it's all on her. Oh, God, y'all don't see it. Y'all don't see it. Because y'all forgot chapter 21 last week. Because Sarah tells Abe to put her out. And he gives her a jug of water and a loaf of bread. And when that runs out, she's all on her own. I wish I had help here. Am I preaching to anybody virtual or in the room who's dealing with something right now and you feel the weight of sole responsibility? If those kids are going to eat, you got to work. If they're going to go to school, you're going to have to save some money for their tuition because God knows they're not getting no scholarship. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and you have sole responsibility. I need honest folk here today. You've been been living, you come to church Sunday after Sunday, you don't have a husband, you don't have a wife, it's all on you. You got to be mother and father, you got to be present, you got to be there and still keep yourself healthy and sane and safe. It's all on you. But I came to shout you today that when you have the burden of sole responsibility, you just remember you ain't carrying it by yourself. You have a God who will carry you and your burden. Oh God, I want to shout. Deacon Mike Flemings, look at the neighbor, say, neighbor, he's not just carrying it, he's carrying me. The only way I'm making it today is that every now and then when my feet get weak and my steps get frail and I start to stumble, he picks me up and somebody say, he carries me. Everybody say, God sees her in her predicament. God sees her. Deacon Rose Snell, Deacon Sylvia Kendrick, God sees her in her pain. Ooh. Somebody in this room's in pain. And even though I told her, hey God, I'm through with you, I done preached on you enough, hey God said, oh no, you not. Because I got something to say to them folk coming this Sunday that I didn't say the last time you called my name. God sees her in her predicament. God sees her in her pain. Here it is. I close. Number 3. God sees her and makes her a promise. Woo. Y'all missed it. You missed it. It's right there. It starts with verse 9. I don't like to Paul. Tamika, I don't like verse 9. I don't like verse 9. It's in the Bible. Ain't nothing I can do about it. But I don't like it. Angel of the Lord said to her, go back to your mistress and submit yourself to. I'll be like, excuse me? Deacon Rosie Dowdy, come on, let's be real. Come on now, come on. God ever told you something you didn't like it? No, I need y'all to be honest with me. Has God ever told you something and you said, excuse me, come again? You say what? Who you talking to? God says to Hagar, you go back, return to Sarah, submit yourself under her hand. But I'm so glad that ain't all he said. Y'all don't know where to shout, because I'd have told God, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to do that. But look at verse 10, and then, everybody say then. Would you tell a neighbor, say neighbor, I thank God for then. Because after he told her, go back, submit yourself, then the angel of the Lord said, I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so that they shall not be counted for the number of the multitude. And then the angel of the Lord said to her, behold, you are with child, you will bear a son, you shall call his name Ishmael. Here it is, because the Lord has heard your affliction. I want to shout right there, but you ain't going to help me. Are you glad today God keeps talking, that after he gives you an instruction that you don't want to follow, if you don't fall out with him, he's got some good news for you. And the Bible says that God saw her, and then God started talking to her, and then God made her a promise. Would you turn to your neighbor? I've got 2 minutes left, so I got to yank it quick and sit down. Would you turn to a neighbor and say, neighbor, you can always stand on the promises of God. God makes her a promise. I will be with you. I don't know if you're excited about that, but if Jesus goes with me, that's old song. Y'all don't know that. If Jesus goes with me, I'll go anywhere. It's heaven to me wherever I be. Y'all don't know old song. If he is near, I count it a privilege here, his cross to bear. If Jesus goes with me, I'll go anywhere. Would you tell a neighbor, neighbor, as long as he's with me, I'll follow with rejoicing. He promised her, I will be with you. And then he promised her, I will bless you. I know they made a mess of your life. I know you didn't plan for this. I know it's not what you wanted, but I am God, and I can bring good out of bad. I can make all things work together for good because you love me, and I will bless you. Do I have anybody here who can look back over your life and say, in the midst of it all, he blessed me. Blessed me to get a job. Blessed me to go to college. Blessed me to get a degree. Blessed me to get a house. Blessed me to get a car. Blessed me to get my credit right. Somebody holler, he blessed me in my lowest place. On my worst day, I feel like preaching. He blessed me. Would you turn to a neighbor, shake their hand like you're about to shake it off, and say, neighbor, the only reason I'm here today is he blessed me. He blessed her. He said, I'll be with you. I'll bless you. And then here's my last point, and I'm going to bring you through this. You're not going to die in this. You're not going to end in this. This is not your last move. This is not your last place. Somebody holler, he's bringing me through. He knows the way I take, and when he has tried me, I'm coming out like pure gold. I double dog dare you. Turn to a neighbor and say, neighbor, he's bringing me through this. I've had many cares and sorrow. I've had questions for tomorrow. There have been times I felt so all alone, but in every situation, God gave blessed consolation that my trials only come to make me strong. Through it all, I double dog dare you, help me preach it. Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Through it all, I've learned. Tell a neighbor, neighbor, he promised me he'd be with me. He promised me he'd bless me. And he promised me he'd bring me through it. So I'm not going to wait till it's over. I'm going to shout right.